Guys, another Take My Angel tutorial. Hopefully I can make this as clean as possible. So Angel, a character you almost never see because of the complexity of her moveset. She's perhaps one of the most difficult characters to use in the game, and if you want to learn Angel, you're gonna need to invest twice as much time compared to other characters, and maybe even more, probably more I would say. As usual, I'm going to be going over all of her normals and specials in full detail so you can get a full understanding of how to use her effectively. So starting with her close A. Her close A is going to be your anti-hop technology. That was the far A. So something like that, for example. As you can see, it even has somewhat of a hitbox behind her, though I'm pretty sure that's mainly because of the jumping A from Angel's extending her hitbox. But there you go, anti-hop material. You can also link it from other normals, but you're going to be using mostly B's for her links into quick max, which I'll go over in the combo section. Alright, her close B, it's let's see if it hits low, shall we? So I'll have him standing up, and it does not hit low, even though it looks like it does. But there you go, it can combo from her crouching B and other normals as well. It's special cancelable. It combos into Unchained Blow. So if you do empty jump low and you want to do a conversion off of that, that's something that you can do. Another thing you should want to know about this close B is that it's +2 on blocks, so you can do some pretty interesting frame traps with it. Alright, next up we have close C. It's slower than the D version, it comes out in 9 frames. It's less damage than the D version, so honestly if you're doing a combo, it's better to do the D version instead. It comes out in 6 frames, which is a whole lot faster than the C version, this close C, and it does more damage. Alright, so another thing, hit detection for this. C might have the advantage on this. You can hit from further away with C, whereas with D you're gonna get you need to be closer in order for it to come out. So that's one difference, or one advantage of using C over D. Alright, on the other hand though, close D, it's just better to use. Like I said, it's more damage, it's faster, and it's gonna be more optimal when you do your combos. Now moving on with far normals. We have far A, it's another anti-hop, but it's gonna be easy replaceable by another normal. So let's just see the anti-hop and the anti-jump technology in action. Actually, that wasn't a hop, that was just a full jump in, but you get the idea. Now far B, it's a great poke. It does whiff over crouching characters if you're far enough. So but if you're close enough, as you can see, it will still connect, but there is some semi-whiff properties on this moves. Although it's a light normal though, so there's less risk of it being whiff punishable. Alright, another thing about this, it's that besides anti-airing, it's also it's a good confirm from crouching Bs if you're gonna go for a quick max combo. Alright, and let's see, far C. It's a far-reaching horizontal poke, comes out relatively fast. On block, it's not that much punishable, but it's deceptively far. It's pretty decent for Angel. If you're fishing for a normal into a quick max, then this would be a good choice of a button to use. Now her far D. Now this also whiffs over crouching characters, but on the other hand, it's pretty decent as an anti-air. So let me go ahead and display that property. And there you go. Of course it's gonna trade some other times, but it's better than eating a full jump in. Alright, in terms of far normals though, you're mostly gonna be using far B and far D. Far B more often than far D though, just because that it's a great poke. It stuffs them out in case characters are trying to rush you down, and it's anti-air. Whereas the far D comes out a little bit slower, and you don't really get much off of it. So just better to use the far B. Now, crouching normals. So crouching B and crouching A, they're pretty standard. Both of them are advantage on blocks, so that's one thing you could. That's one thing to know. Crouching C, it launches the opponent on a hit, and it's cancelable, but you can only cancel it in the beginning frames. So, for instance, this is when you can cancel it. But if you hit them late during the animation, you will not be able to cancel it. So especially if they're jumping in on you and you're gonna do a crouching C as an anti-air, you won't be able to cancel it if it hits from up here. You will be able to cancel just from down here. I mistimed it, like so. But again, that's not going to be a reliable anti-air, so this is a move that you don't want to use very often. In fact, I recommend just not using it at all, because if you whiff with this move, or if they block it, it's going to be insanely punishable. So just avoid it at all times. There's much better things you could be doing with Angel. Alright, now her crouching D, it's your average sweep, it's got decent range, and it's special cancelable even on whiff. So it's something that, you know, if you want to do some shenanigans on neutral, that's something that you can do with Angel. And you can even whiff cancel it into a command normal. Alright, so let's move on to her jumping normals. So we got jumping A, jumping B, C, and D. So A is going to be your air to ground. It's got that angle just to hit people who are on the ground. Don't use it as much for air to air. What you want to use for air to air is probably jumping B. It comes out just as fast, and the angle for it is ideal for characters that are in the air. You can also use this on grounded opponents. It's actually your all-purpose air normal. So another thing is that you can actually cross up with it. It's difficult, but it's possible. So there you go, just wanted to demonstrate that. Her jumping C is going to be your more reliable cross-up move. Now this move is strictly to cross-up. If you use it on your opponent like this, it's not going to hit. You have to be jumping over them for this to hit. And make sure to hit with it really deep, or else your combo afterwards is not going to connect. If you do it too early, you're not going to be able to combo from it. Alright, next up, her jumping D. Let's see, air to ground. So this comes out relatively kind of fast in 10 frames. It's faster than her jumping C. You want to use this mostly if they're in a corner and you just want to lock them down with a hard normal block stun, but otherwise it's best to use jumping B or jumping B. Yeah, it's best to use jumping B and C if you're trying to cross up. So that's it for air normals. Let's go over her command, her blowbacks. So standing blowback, it's pretty average. If you're ever going to use this, always use it into unchanged step, because if they block it, you'll get a mix-up, a side-to-side mix-up. And in the corner, actually no, I'll go over this move when I come to the specials. But if you're ever gonna if you're gonna use blowback, just always cancel it to unchanged step, because if you do, you'll be able to get a full conversion after that. Alright, now let's move on to her jumping blowback. So this move comes out pretty slow, but once it does come out, it has an extremely active hitbox, so that you're able to hit even crouching characters. So I'm using it as early as I possibly, well actually if I use it on the way up it's not gonna land, but at the tip of the jump, the apex I should say, the hitbox will last all the way down. Alright, now let's move on to her command normal. So she's got the command normal middle spin, which is forward B. So this cannot combo from lights. You need to use a hard normal to connect into it. As you can see, it's 2 hits, but it's best to cancel after the first hit, because after the second hit, the opponent is going to be too far away for anything to combo afterwards. So always combo or cancel on the first hit. There's nothing you can do on the second hit. There's nothing on the second hit that will connect, so unless you're going into a quick max confirm, which I botched. Like that. There we go. But otherwise, just forget that it has 2 hits. Alright, you're not gonna, for all intents and purposes, you're not gonna get it on purpose. Her other command normal is down D in the air. It's a heavy knee. If you use it during a backdash, you can increase her backdash distance. So here's a regular backdash distance, and here it is with jumping with down D. So as you can see, it's slightly further than a regular backdash distance, but not by much. Actually, does it really increase it? Or am I just seeing things? No, actually it does not increase the backdash distance. It's the same. So it's just a fancy thing to do. So just ignore that part of the tutorial. Now onto the real purpose of this move. So it's a really fast air normal. It comes out in 5 frames. Most of them come out in 6 frames. So you can use this to air to air. You can use this as an air to ground. You could put out a wall because it's extremely active. So yeah, I use it all the way in the air. And let's see, you can also cross up with this move. So let me demonstrate that. Not as easily as jumping C, but it is possible. There we go. And because this move has such little hit stun, you want to use it as late as possible when you're jumping. Almost as if you're right when you're touching the ground. If you use it too high, well, if I'm testing on a crouching opponent, I'm most likely gonna hit with it. But it is difficult to combo off of it if you hit it from too high. Now, right now my execution is a little bit too good, so I'm not really demonstrating the little hit stun on it. For example, that's a time where you cannot combo after the heavy knee. Alright, what else? Yeah, that's it for her command almost. Now let's move on to her specials. It's gonna be a really long part because Angel specials are pretty complex. Alright, so Red Sky, we have half circle back kicks. It's a hit and not a grab. It looks like a grab, but that's just the animation on hit. You can hit airborne opponents, so let me have the opponent jumping or hopping. You can catch them out of the air on the way up or even on the way down, but I wouldn't try it. That's just if they're trying to jump out and you just happen to get them. You do get a hard knockdown afterwards and a pretty decent setup. You can run up all the way up. It doesn't matter what part of the screen that you're at. You can even do a jump in on them. Of course, there are some reversals that will beat Angel out of that jump in setup, but for the most part you'll get that for free. Alright, let's see what else. The EX version, it comes out faster and it does slightly more damage. And let's see, it does not have invincible properties, so let me go ahead and test that. So that's the move on Wake Up. As you can see, no reversal potential whatsoever. You can combo into this move, but obviously if you're just gonna be doing a combo, there's much better things to do with Angel. Alright, next up we got her command grab, which is gonna be DP motion kicks backwards. So this is the Mad Murder command grab. Oh, by the way, for Red Sky, there's no difference between the B version and the D version. They travel the same distance and do the same damage. Alright, back to the command grab. So again, there's no difference between the B version or the D version. They both do the same amount of damage. There's no difference in juggability or range or anything like that. They're both the same regardless of which version you use. So there's a command grab, and if you're using the regular version outside the corner, you could always get a Red Sky afterwards. You can't get a super off of this, even in the corner. Even if you use EX super, you're not gonna get the super. If you want the super, you're gonna have to use an EX Mad Murder, and that's how you get a super off of a command normal. So for example, you could do something like this on block and just go into that. Alright, now in the corner, if you do get it, a follow-up you can do is Tornado into Soba, into Lariat, into Red Sky. Now that's one of the best things you can do with Angel. I don't think there is a more optimal combo to my knowledge, but there you go. Alright, so one thing you want to keep in mind is that you can't do a super even after you do some sort of juggle after the command grab. So, but you can do it off of the EX command grab. Alright, so the key takeaway is that if you use the EX command grab, you can always get super. And if you don't use the EX version, then you cannot get the super. Another thing about the EX version is that Angel does have time to run up and get the tornado. And I actually got that by luck. My execution is usually not that good with Angel, to the point where I could do run up tornado, because usually I get that, the Unchained Step special. So it's good I was able to do that at the key moment. Alright. Next up we have her Unchained series. So this is what defines Angel as a character, is this Unchained series. It's her combo, it's her neutral, it's her mix-up, it's everything that Angel is. So this is a 4-part series of specials where there's 4 tiers to it, I guess you could say. The first tier starts off from any amount of there's a different amount of ways to start it off with the first tier. The second tier has 6 different options, and after you do that, you could do a feint in any direction, or you can do a finisher like that. So I'm gonna be going over all of them, starting with the first series of Unchained. So the first series of Unchained is called Unchained Start. It can be done raw, it can be done from a normal. The only ones that can combo reliably from a normal are Tornado and Unchained Blow. So let's go over them in the order that I have. So we have Unchained Low. Obviously this is gonna hit low. It's got some startup, but she does move forward a bit. The follow-ups for Unchained Low is kind of limited because of the range. The range of the Unchained Low and the range of the other normals that follow. So for example, you see a lot of the moves here whiffing. So if you do get Unchained Low, go into the other low, into Lariat, and you can also go into Sobat. Sobat pretty much leads from any of the Unchained Start moves. Alright, next up we have Unchained Heal. So this is an overhead. It's actually pretty fast. It starts off at 17 frames. Most overheads in this game start in 21 or later. So yeah. But like the Unchained Low, it does have limited follow-ups. You have to be point blank for this to get any sort of real follow-up that leads to any damage. For example, if you use it in a string, you'll be barely be able to connect. And that's because I'm only hitting the character. If I had him on guard, there'll be a little bit more pushback. So let me set them to guard off. Overhead, it will still connect. Oh, one more thing. So even if you string it from normals, it's still an overhead. So Crouch B standing in A, and you'll see the CPU stand up to block high. Alright, so Unchained Heal. You can go into Unchained Low if you're close enough, or the Sobat. So the key takeaway is usually Sobat from anything will connect. Alright, so next up we have Unchained Blow. Oh, actually no, let me go over Tornado first. So this is going to be her main hit confirmed with Angel. It combos from lights. So let's see, that's one thing you really need to have down with Angel, is being able to combo anything into Tornado. It combos from hards obviously, and her command normal as well. And after Tornado, you'll be able to get most of her follow-ups. So that's a key part of Angel's BNB. Alright, so the difference in Tornado and B version, D version are pretty much the same. I mean, there's no difference. They do the same damage, there's no difference between either of the versions. One thing you want to note is that it does whiff on crouching characters that are blocking. So the first hit, that is, not the second hit. So you can see there's only one hit that connects. So that's one thing you want to know during block strings. So if, for example, you're doing this, there is a hole in between that they could do something about. So don't throw it out carelessly. Alright, also it interrupts your string a bit, because most of the times you want to cancel the first hit of Tornado during her combos. Alright, next up we got Unchained Blow. So we have A version and C version. The A version of Unchained Blow, there's nothing remarkable about it. It's more negative, it's -5 on block. Whereas the C version, it's only -2 on block. And also, there's no pushback on it. See how I'm stuck right next to Angel? So you could do a lot of mix-ups into her Unchained series if you see them blocking. And let's see what else. Knockback on a hit for both versions is essentially the same. So you can do the same amount of juggles. The damage is the same for both of them. So here's the A version into Lariat, Sobat. And here's the C version into Sobat. So really no benefit to using the A version. Alright, next up we have EX Blow. So this one is going to be a crumple on hit, and it actually breaks through the guard. So let's set the guard level to 100%. Oh, actually I didn't set the guard. Sorry about that. Alright. However, the follow-ups to getting anything after this, it's going to be pretty limited. There's not much that you could do off of that, except maybe alright, you do have some time to run up and do a full combo, but the timing is pretty strict, I feel like. So that's it for the Unchained series. Oh yeah, the Unchained series is gonna be in the corner your optimal damage route, but I'm gonna go over that during combos, so don't worry about that. Next up we have Unchained Step. So sorry, that's Red Sky. So Unchained Step is have to go forward kicks. So the B version goes that far, and the D version, actually I think they're the same. Yeah, they're pretty much the same, so there's no difference between the B or D version. Alright, so here are the properties of this move. If you use Unchained Step and Angel reaches the character, she'll go into a cross up. She'll disappear slightly and go and cross up behind the character, and she can continue the rest of the Unchained series. So the most popular follow is to just go into Sobat into one of the follow-ups there. Another thing you could do is just go low and into some other sort of mix-up. So this move here, the main purpose is just to mix them up and switch sides really quick. However, if you have her in the corner, she's not gonna cross up at all. She'll still do the disappearing animation, but she won't be able to do any of the Unchained follow-ups in the corner. So this is not something you want to use in the corner unless you're doing some sort of air reset into this and you want to, you know, close the distance, like I don't know, something like this, you know. But otherwise, don't use it in the corner. Alright, the EX version. So the EX version comes out faster. You can cancel into the follow-ups just slightly faster. Actually, I think it's not that you can cancel faster, it's that she crosses up faster. That allows her to get the mix up even further. But then again, this is not a move you're going to be using a lot, because if you're going to be in quick max, you're either doing a combo or you drop the combo, and if you drop the combo, you're better off using EX Red Sky. Oh yes, one thing I forgot to mention about EX Red Sky in general is that it's -4 on blocks, so it's barely punishable, and like it's technically punishable, but it's gonna be the kind of punish that's difficult to do because you can only punish with light normals. Alright, so EX Unchained Step. So one thing you want to know about this move is that it doesn't have any properties of invincibility. So if I go to the EX mode, there it is, no invincibility. So it's not a move you want to use on Wake Up. Speaking of EX move, one thing I forgot to mention is EX Command Grab is invincible. So let me go ahead and Wake Up with that. Here I'm got knocked down, EX Red Sky, and it's invincible. So yep, properties of the moves that you want to keep in mind. Alright, now on to her Unchained series, the rest of the Unchained series. So here's some things you gotta know about Unchained Circle. So first of all, the second part of Unchained series, you can only do it after the first part of Unchained. So any part of the Unchained first, like the heal, the low, this, tornado, and even the step, all of them can follow into the Circle series or part 2. So here's part 2. You got the upload. Actually, wait, before I go into part 2, there's some conditions you gotta know about the part 2 series. So other than being able to follow only after the first part of Unchained series, another thing is that you can combo or string together multiple part 2 series. So here's the upper, and here's the Sobat, and there's the low, so you can infinitely chain them. But there are two conditions. First of all, any part of part 2 after the first one needs to be a different direction. So here's the up, and then after that I can't do an up kick, I have to do a forward kick or a down kick. Another thing is that you can only do an opposite button of the previous one. So if the first part of Unchained series is a punch, then the second part has to be a kick. So even if I do Unchained up and forward A, I'm not going to be able to get the overhead because it's being followed up by a punch. Now I can still get forward kick and down kick, but those are my only two options. Same thing with the kicks. So if I go low, I have to go up or forward, and it has to be a punch. Makes sense? So basically, different button, different direction. So Angel can actually infinitely string all 6 of her buttons of part 2 series together, but there is no purpose to that, but I'll show you. So here I recorded the dummy going ahead and doing that. So let me show you what all 6 looks like real quick in succession. So here you go, that's what it looks like. So up, down, forward, up, down again, and another forward, and alternated between punches and kicks. So you can infinitely string them together. It doesn't have to be on block or hit. You can do it on whiff too, as you can see. So there you go. Alright, now let's move on to the real part of the Unchained Circle series. So first we have Circle Upper. Now this forces them to stand up. So let's see if I could demonstrate that. Let's see. There we go. So that forces them to stand up. It launches airborne opponents if they're already in the air. So let's see, if you get some sort of combo with the Unchained series, for example after Lariat, you could do this into upper and it'll put them in a juggle state, and you can combo, reset them, or you can hit them out of it. The second part is going to be the Sobat. Oh, actually, let me just go by the button and direction, that's easier to do. So the other part is the Circle High. So it's an upward angle kick. It has some anti-air properties, but don't really rely on that. Let me see if it whiffs on crouching actually. I'm pretty sure it would whiff on crouching. There you go, yeah, it does whiff on crouching characters. You're not gonna really be using this a lot, to be honest. You're not gonna be using any part of the Unchained series raw, by the way. You can use some shenanigans, you know, like from Unchained Step, but that's something that but you're not gonna be doing it from, let's say, Unchained Blow. Alright, so next up we have Circle. Let's go over the forward buttons. So we have Sobat. This is gonna be the most popular one. It's an overhead, and as you can see, it comes out really fast, and you can combo into her finisher part of the series 100% of the time. You'll always be able to combo into that. Actually, that's the only follow-up to the Sobat. Alright, you also have some anti-air properties. So for example, if they're already jumping up a bit, you do this into clothesline, into red sky, and you'll be able to get a full combo off of that. So it's something you want to do if you're playing a neutral and you feel like they're jumping a lot. That's something that you can just toss out. Alright, but it is unsafe though, so don't use it too often. If you're gonna throw this randomly and they block it, just cancel it into the feint. Alright, next up we have the overhead. So this is the what is it? Hammer blow. So 2-hit overhead. Both hits of the move are overhead, and anytime you hit this overhead, you should always be able to combo into the Lariat. So we'll go ahead and just have them guard this, and you'll get a full combo off of that. Alright. Next up we have the lows. So both of these are low. the unchained underblow, and the unchained assault. So this one comes out a little bit slower, but because she moves forward while she's doing it, she has more follow-ups that are connectable. Oops, didn't mean to do that. For example, that. And this one, it has very limited range. You're not going to be able to combo afterwards into a lot of the things, except maybe the Sobat. So well, I didn't connect, but it does combo. So that's it for the Unchained Circle series. Most of these moves are for combo potential, combo strings, and rather not using it raw. Now, if you are using Angel and you're throwing out a bunch of Unchained series and you want to keep yourself safe, there is a third part to the series. Actually, the third part is divided into two different follow-ups: the Feint series and the Finish series. So the Feint series can only be done after Unchained Second, the second part of the series, and there's 3 versions of the Feint. So you could feint forward, you could feint backward, or you could feint in place. Now, all these feints have some slight invincibility properties, but not full invincibility. So, for example, if K uses his CDP and you're feinting backwards, and you have him in a corner after a mix-up, he's still gonna be able to tag you. Even if you're moving backwards, you're still gonna be tagged because of the range of his DP, and also because the invincibility wore off. Now, if he's using the A version, your feint backwards, it will actually be able to have the invincibility to go through his DP. Now, this is something you want to use. You can use it defensively or to trick them. For example, if you're just doing a series of strings and they're blocking, and if you feel like you can catch them sleeping, then go ahead and use the forward feint. But if you're using Unchained series and they're blocking all of them, then go ahead and back away with it. Or if you don't want to put that much distance to them, you can just feint in place. Now, really, you're not going to really feint in place a lot of times because it doesn't really give you a positional advantage, where at least the forward one can trick them. It's not a true setup. They can interrupt the grab or anything. The forward feint, it doesn't give you any frame advantage. It's a risky sort of gamble because they could always press something in between and interrupt you. So the feint backward is your safest option of all 3 of them. Now, after you do the feint, you can actually go into the Finish series, into the last part of the series. So, for example, you could do something like that. Let me test something. So that's a setup you could do with a neutral feint, but that's only if you catch them sleeping. So don't try to try your luck like that. Alright, now finally the last part of the Unchained series. So you can only do this after the second part or the feint, and it's the final part of the Unchained series. So once you do this part, there is no follow-ups to it except juggles. Alright, so let's go over each of them. So one of the first Unchained Finish series is the Lariat. So that's gonna be forward A. Actually, that's the straight. Sorry, this is the Lariat, the clothesline. Now you're gonna be seeing this in a lot of Angels combos. Right here, it always launches them like that, and you can always land a full combo anywhere with that. So if you get it from if you get this Lariat from mid screen, you can always follow with Red Sky. Now, if you do the whole series on block and you end it with Lariat, it does leave some pushback, but it's minus 12, so some characters are able to punish it. So it's one thing you want to keep in mind. Now, the next series of Finish, we have the straight, which I did accidentally before. That's going to be forward C. And one thing I want to demonstrate is that it's unblockable. So every time you get the hit, Angel's recovery is much faster than on whiff. Oops, I didn't whiff. But yeah, anytime you get this on hit, she recovers fast enough that you can get a follow-up, especially in the corner. Now if you do it away from the corner, you can still get a follow-up, I believe, into the red sky. So yeah, there you go. So it's unblockable, causes wall bounce, there is reduced recovery on a hit, and it allows for a side-to-side mix-up with Angels in her B&Bs, and I'll go over them when I go over the combos, so don't worry about that. Alright, next up, we have the finish, Unchained Finish Rolling. So that's going to be full forward kicks. It doesn't matter whether you're using the B version or the D version. It's a 3-hit overhead. So let me go ahead and have the CPU blocking. So all 3 of those hits are overhead. Now on block, it leaves you only -5, so you're going to be barely punishable, or specifically punishable. Characters who have a 5-frame nowhere that can reach that far are able to punish you, but for the most part it's safe. Now if you get this on hit, you do get a hard knockdown, and you get a pretty decent setup just because the hard knockdown timing is pretty long. Alright, next up we have the finish net cutter. So this is a jumping air grab, and the setup doesn't leave you much, honestly. If it puts them too far away, she recovers too much, and even if you do run up, they're still gonna get up by the time that you reach them. So there's not much of a setup, and it does very little damage. So you want to use this maybe on the final hit of the character, or just throw them off in a string. It's just one of your, minor damage mix-ups. Alright. Oh, also, it can hit characters who are crouching. So even if they're crouching, they're not going to be safe from this. It's a little risky to use because if they react to it, they can just backdash or neutral jump and get a full punish on you. Alright, next up we have finish grapple kick. Let's see. There we go. That's what it looks like on whiff. Now, you can actually get this. You're gonna see this mostly in combos, but it is possible to do it outside of a combo. For example, if you do a forward whiff, but that time I just messed up. There we go. So something like that. Again, not a lot of damage, and she puts you pretty far away. So there is no setup that you can get with this move, unless you put them in the corner. Even then, Angel pushes herself kind of far away. Alright, I guess in the corner you get enough of a run up. One thing I forgot to mention about her neck cutter finish is that it always puts her on the other side. So that's another reason not to use it unless you're desperate for that minor damage. Alright, so that's it for Unchained series. There's a lot more to it than what I just covered. What I just covered is just how it looks like and some of the properties, but most of the potential that you're going to be seeing is going to be inside the combos. But before I go to the combos, let's go through her supers first. So her first super is real rave. It's back forward, down forward punches. It's a weird motion that you don't really see often in fighting games. It's Rambu super, so if you get it on hit, she goes into this full animation, and obviously if it's blocked, it's going to be punishable. Now it's almost full screen. You have to be slightly away from full screen for it to reach, but you're not going to be using it from full screen because it doesn't have any invincibility. Alright, now this super is going to be pretty damaging. If you're using a 1-bar combo, it's best not to go into quick max. It's best to just do a juggle combo into her super. Now the EX version switches sides. So let me demonstrate that, having Angel away from the corner. And by the way, if you're going to do a quick max cancel, this is the part where you want to do the max cancel. Because if you wait after that, then she's not going to be able to max cancel. She's going to be doing the last part of the move. So there's a side switch. If you do it in a corner, she's not going to side switch. Instead, she'll just keep it in the corner. It's pretty smart. I kind of like that on SNK's part. This is my first time using Angel in a KOF series, so I don't know if that's been the case in the older KOF games, but I appreciate that it keeps her in the corner, keeps them in the corner. Alright, next up we have the counter super. So it's the same motion but with kicks. and she goes into this stance animation, and for as long as she has that knee up, she'll be able to counter anything that hits her, whether it's a high, low, overhead, even a special. Obviously projectiles are not going to count. So this counter super, it has some invincibility frames, but let me demonstrate the move first. So it does 200 damage. The EX version does more than that. Oops. She'll do the rock bottom and then the people's elbow for a total of 350 damage. So for 2 bars, that's a very damaging super. Alright, now one thing I wanted to talk about for the counter super is that there are some slight invincibility frames on this. So if they're able to time a meaty that doesn't have a lot of active frames to it, the counter super can actually whiff. So let me go ahead and try to time that. Alright, that time, that was not timed. Okay, I think that might work. So there you go. So you see how this setup hits me when I wake up? Now if I use the counter super, normally it's gonna hit me on wake up, but why does it whiff in this case? Well, that's because it has invincibility frames. I believe the first 3 frames are invincible, so it causes their normal to whiff. So when it causes them to whiff, obviously it's not gonna trigger the super because the normal's not actually connecting. So it can be used as a wake up option, but just know that if they're using a light normal or something that doesn't have a lot of active frames, then it's actually gonna whiff and you gotta just end up wasting a bar. Okay, so in terms of advanced cancels, she can't advance cancel from one super to the other. She can climax cancel only from the round boost super into the climax. If you get a counter super, you won't be able to do anything. You won't be able to do a climax super off of that. Alright, now her climax is going to be double cutter circle forward, both kicks. She jumps forward a bit. It is possible for them to run under or to whiff. If she does that point blank range, they are able to jump over it. And one thing to know about this move is that it's an overhead. So if they don't know about that, you can catch them off guard. But in high level play, obviously that's not gonna fly. Alright, so that's about it for Angel's move sets. Now let's go over her links. So if you're trying to go into quick max, it's always best to do C or D into forward B and make sure to cancel the first hit. Just because it's much easier to combo into it. If you do both hits, you're gonna risk the chance of getting a far normal instead of a close normal. And even if you do 2 hits, the damage output that you get from it is not going to be that much higher. So the chance of it dropping is not worth the extra damage. If you want to combo from lights, then the best way to do that is with Angel, is crouching B into far B. Now if this opponent is blocking this string, the far B is gonna whiff. So actually if you do it fast enough, it won't whiff. But let me test that on a character that's not in a corner. Actually yeah, so it does work on crouching characters, so you just gotta do it fast enough. You do it the far B too slow, then it's gonna whiff. So this is a great string to use. And alternatively, you could just use 3 crouching Bs. If you use 3 crouching Bs, it's going to be slightly harder to combo into a full quick max just because the far B moves Angel a little bit closer. See how I didn't have enough time to combo into close C? Now from 3 crouching Bs, you could still get her close D, which is good. Alright, now for mix-ups. If you're gonna do a mix-up with Angel, the best way to do it, or the most common way, is just into any normal, into unchanged steps. So you could do lights into it, you could do C into it, or you could just do it raw. It depends on what kind of setup you're going for. But either way, as long as you get the unchained step, just go into Soba immediately, and then go into her grapple kick. Alternatively, you could just go low into her grapple kick, or you can go low into a high. Well, that was on accident. That's not what I wanted to do. you can go low into the high Sobot into the grab, so they have to block low and high immediately. So in case characters or players that you're fighting against are used to you doing this, then just go low instead into that. It's a pretty difficult thing to block because it happens really fast. So that's some of the low damage mix-ups that you could do. Or you could do overhead into lariat in the middle of your string. So one thing I was used to doing for the longest time was this string right here. Oops. Into overhead, into lariat, and of course every time you get the lariat you'll be able to get a red sky follow, and if you're in the corner you'll get even more. Now if you get unchained blow, what you could do is combo it from the lows, or not from the lows, sorry, from crouching B to standing B or just standing B. Now you won't be able to get anything off of this from mid screen except her Sobot. You could go into unchained step to sort of mix them up a bit, because it does look like that she's gonna cross up, but she really doesn't. One thing you could do, for example, oops. I want to show something pretty cool. Oops. Is that you could go to unchained step, and then the game will register as if she's on the other side already. So when she's doing a jump, she's already turned around, and when she's turned around, you could just do the jumping C, which normally crosses up, but because you're still in the front, she's, you know, going backwards. So it's a pretty cool looking thing that you could do. Alright, other things you could do. You could do anything into neck cutter, just with a bunch of things. These are things that I'm talking about on block. So for example, into a flying neck cutter, or you could whip forward into feint command grab, or you could do the 3-hit overhead for the hard knockdown. There's a bunch of things you could do with Angel mix-up wise. Now let's go into more important things like combos. So earlier I was going over what kind of strings you could do, but if you have no bar, here are some of the combos that you could do with Angel. So you can go into Commando, into Tornado. You want to cancel the first hit into Tornado into her overhead blow, and then once you cancel into the overhead blow, go into Lariat, and then go into Red Sky. Now if you have the corner, what you can do is you can go Lariat, Tornado kick, finish straight, and then do an air juggle, air reset, unchained step. So let me go ahead and do this properly. Air reset, and you can go to unchained step. So this is her side to side mix up with this combo right here. Oops. One thing you could do, I should have pre-recorded some mix ups, but I'm just gonna have to do it on the fly. So after that, you could do the overhead, you could do the Sobot, or you could just do, if you get the reset into unchained step, you could do another unchained step and mix them up. And if against players who are smarter and they try to do a reversal, you could just wait, let them hang themselves. So yeah, that's Angel side to side mix up. It does a lot of damage if you do this combo, and you get a reset after it, and it's just a great thing to use with Angel. Now there's a different variation to Angel's combo. So normally, you know, remember how I said mid screen you can't get much off of Unchained Blow, but if you do get a corner combo with Angel with Unchained Blow, here's what you want to do. You want to go into, actually let me record the dummy doing it. So you get 347 damage with no bar. So you want to go into Unchained Blow, and then into her Sobot, and then into Lariat, and after that you would do a Tornado into Sobot into Red Sky. So the takeaway for Angel combos is that you want to do anything into Unchained Blow, into Soulbot, or into Lariat. And after either of the juggles, you'll always be able to land Tornado into Soulbot, into upper. So whichever variation combo that you're using, whether it's this one here, you get that, or Unchained Blow. So Tornado, Soulbot, upper, and you can always land into Red Sky afterwards. They both do the same amount of damage, so it's really up to you how you prefer the combo. If you get the corner, I always recommend doing this because it does more damage. If you want the side to side mix up, you'll have to use this, because the side to side mix up, or rather this finish Unchained Straight, is not going to combo from the Unchained Blow combo. This will only connect after the overhead combo. And here I'm dropping it because I'm messing up the timing. So the timing for this combo, I should have mentioned it earlier, is that after this, you want to get Tornado as soon as you can, and do the rest of them as soon as you can. So that way, you have enough time to land the finish straight. And after that, you'll have enough time to do an air reset. Alright, so those are combos with Angel with no bar. There are a lot of mix-ups that you can get with Angel in the middle of her combos that I just showed you. So for example, if you do, let's see, normally you could finish with Red Sky, but for example, if you do the Unchained combo, you could do after the Red Sky, you can whiff your Unchained Blow into upper, into the baseball slide, and it will hit them on wake up. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that. That time I did it too soon. There we go. So the idea is, actually wait, I'm using the wrong video. Do the overhead. There we go. So that works better for timing. And if you time it right, as long as you don't do it slightly too early, your setups will always land. And the idea is, if you throw out the overhead, they're gonna be, oh crap, you know, gotta block high. So that's when you throw out the baseball slide into the Lariat. The opposite of this, you do baseball slide into overhead, into the Lariat, into Red Sky. So those are the mix-ups that you could do after the end of the combo. Alternatively, you could do this mid combo as well. So let me go ahead and use a C reset into overhead. Alternatively, you could just go to low. You could mix up with this grab right here, or the Soulbot. There's a bunch of things you can do with Angel. There's really way too many mix-ups for me to cover, but those are the ones that I use the most often because they always lead to Lariat and even more damage. Alright, so 1-bar combos. There's no 1-bar combos that I would recommend with Angel. If I'm desperate for damage, I'll go into Lights, into Lariat, into EX Red Sky, and that gives me almost 300 damage off of Lights. Alternatively, you do this, a full combo, and you get slightly over 300. But if you're gonna use 1-bar at all, it's better to do it after a full combo like this and end it with a super instead, and that will give you 400 instead of the barely 300. So if you're gonna use 1-bar, always combo it from one of her full BMBs that I've been showing you. So mid screen you can get up to more than 319 because that combo I botched one of the hits and one of the hits didn't connect, but there you go. It's more optimal to just always combo it into a super if you're gonna use 1-bar. Now if you're using 2 bars, you can just go into any kind of hit confirm and do the same combo. The combos will be the same, but instead of ending with the Red Sky, you're gonna be ending into EX Super. So if you get a corner combo, the best thing to do is do the Unchained Blow into Super, and this will give you almost 520 actually, so that's a lot of damage with Angel. Alright, so I think I pretty much covered everything with Angel, like the links, I gave you both of the optimal combos. There are a bunch of other combos out there, but stick to this combo and the Unchained Blow version of it, and get those corner combos down too. Alright, so let's go over the good and bad with Angel. So first, let's start with the good. She has high damage output without relying on bar. If KOF was a game that had no super meter whatsoever, Angel would be top tier because her damage output is ridiculously high compared to the other characters without bar, and she's got a ton of mix-ups, so then those damage wedges add up. So either way, she's just not dependent on bar at all. And secondly, she has one of the most mix-up of the entire cast. She's got highs and lows, she's got side switching, she's got command grab, she's got unblockables, she's got, you know, a corner mix-up that leads to a side-to-side mix-up, which is not something a lot of characters have in the corner. And there's also an answer to rolling too. So a lot of people, they say, oh, you could just, you know, roll out of a mix-up, but a good player won't let a player roll out of a mix-up. For example, Angel could just feint in place, watch you roll, and then just get a full punish out of it. Lastly, she's got high mobility. So Red Sky, it comes out fast. To a lot of players, it can come out of nowhere because it just has that fast startup and it travels such a far distance in a short amount of time. And it's difficult to punish, so it's something you could throw out kind of liberally actually. Another thing, you have Unchained Step. So if its opponent is jumping on you multiple times like this, oops, that's not a good hop. Alright, so something like that, right? I could just Unchained Step out of there. So she's a very slippery character, and if you use her mobility well, she's going to be a very difficult character to catch. Now, the downsides. First of all, she has no advanced cancels or practical combos that go into climax, so her damage output beyond 2 bars is kinda limited. Secondly, she's insanely time consuming to learn and master. I put a lot of time and effort into Angel, and I still don't have all the ins and outs of Angel. My Angel could still always be better. And what else? Not having the access to advanced or max cancels means you won't have enough bar for. Actually, no, sorry, I was thinking about something else. Alright, another downside to Angel is that she has low damage mix-ups. So even though she has all these little mix-ups like the unblockable, the flying net grab, and feint into. Sorry, not that one. Feint into command grab. These are all very low damage mix-ups with leave her no sort of positional advantage. So even this, for example, all together that's just 92 damage. It's not even 100. You know, a regular grab does more damage than that. So really, even though she has all those mix-up potential, it's not gonna lead to death. All right. So position wise, what you want to do with Angel for position, I think the best position is on point, because like I said before, she doesn't need any bar to do a high amount of damage. If she does have 1 bar, you'll get that 1 bar combo, but you won't have any practical 1 bar combos from a quick max confirm. If you have 2 bars, I guess you'll still be doing more damage, but for the most part, it's just better to have Angel on point. Second position. So if she has second position, she'll be able to do her damaging 2 bar combos. Like I said before, it's like 500, which is great. That's about it for a second position. If you put her in third position, it's making a huge mistake, because third position doesn't give her anything that first and second doesn't. You'll be able to do her 2 bar combos more often, but really, if you're going to be using that much meter, there are other characters that could do more with it than Angel can. So third position is not something I would consider with Angel at all, unless you just really like the character and, you know, want to end the game with her. But otherwise, just always put Angel on first, or if not first, then at least second. Alright, strategies with Angels. Before I go into a strategy, when you learn Angel, here are the list of things you need. So you need all the combos in the mid screen and corner, including the side to side corner mix up. If you don't have any of those combos, then you're just flinging around with Angel, and that's never a good thing. Next, air reset combos in the corner. So besides the side to side mix ups, you want to be able to do a mix up in the corner with an air reset, because if you do the same mix up like this over and over again, like for example whiffing overhead into baseball slide, you know, if you use the same setups over and over again, your opponents will get used to that. So you want to throw them off by changing the timing of your mix-up. So instead of using a red sky to end your combo, do an air reset. You know, they'll have to be like, oh crap, you know, not ready for this. Next, confirm your lights from 3 hits. So if you're getting a quick max combo, you got 2 bars to blow, look for those 3 hits. You'll get that good amount of damage. Actually, that wasn't the optimal, but it's still pretty decent damage. Now, another thing, you need to create a knack for throwing out counter supers, which is your only reversal option outside of being in max mode. So just have this motion down right away, because it's gonna, you know, people don't expect Angel to just have that reversal ready at hand. Even if the invincibility makes someone's whiff, it's still good to have it. So for example, let's say I'm doing a string and that's negative, and I stupidly did the punch super instead. So if they try to punish that, throw out counter super, it'll catch them. So in positions where, for example, that you're negative and they're gonna poke back and you know they'll poke back, having the counter super is a good thing to just throw out. Alright, so that's the things you need to have with Angel before you start playing her. Now if you're playing her, the strategies, for example, let's start with offensive strategies. So let's say you're trying to get in, you want to stay on top of them, you know, or maybe you're playing it sort of a neutral game, but you have the screen advantage. So one thing you can do, you can just throw out red sky. Beginning of the match, you can do it randomly on neutral, but use it sparingly, because if you use it too much, they'll get used to the timing and be able to punish you. Next, unchained step. Use it offensively if they're outside of the corner. Get that instant or near instant cross up into the damage. Even though it's a low damage mix up, it's still damage and you'll still get a knockdown. And it's still changing the tide in your favor somewhat. And if you do it enough, you'll frustrate them and get them to do something pretty careless. Alright, next, unchained step to, let's see. Oh, catching people who are jumping is one thing you can do with unchained steps. So for example, like I mentioned before earlier into the tutorial, if they're kind of hopping around a lot, you could just go ahead and use unchained step into her Sobot. Now this could, yeah, I know it seems like a gimmicky thing to do, but honestly, in a neutral game, they're not going to expect Angel to run forward and interrupt with a really fast Sobot that could juggle into a lariat. Alright, what else can you do? Aerial down D and jumping C or jumping B. So those are the moves, if you're jumping around a lot, those are the moves you want to use. And it's really easy to over jump with Angel in a game that has a lot of movement options. So if your opponent, you're not the only one who's moving around, so it's a very high likely chance that you're going to be jumping over with the wrong normal. So you want to have really good reactions. If you feel like they're going to be under you, or if you're going to be past them, remember to just switch to down C, or not down C, jumping C. If anything, use the jumping D a lot too. It's a really good move that comes out fast. You can put up a wall for air normals and air-to-air situations, I mean. Alright, what else? Blowbacks. So if you're at a neutral situation or a situation where you're able to just throw out blowback, go ahead and throw it out, because you get that conversion into unchained step. You'll get a full combo for 200 damage off of a blowback. That's not bad at all. Oh, and if you do get the blowback, I believe you can combo into round boost super. And that time I botched the super. There we go. So you can get a super even afterwards. Alright, what else? Far B to stuff anti-air attempts. So if you have him in the corner and you want to keep him in the corner, how do you do that? Far B. It reaches them before they can reach you, and if they try to jump out or hop out, then it's gonna stop them. And if they roll forward, then you'll recover in time to get a full punish. Alright, defensively. So if you want to anti-air, if you're being cornered or you're trying to escape, what would you do? So far B again is your answer. Alternatively, you can use far D. So if they're jumping in on you a lot, so far B is a good answer to that. Now if you feel like they're gonna jump over your far B, then use far D instead, because it has that little arc where it hits up above her head as well. Now, another thing you do is just unchain step. If they're jumping in on you multiple times, find a gap in between, just throw out unchain step, and you can turn the corner on them. And lastly, always be ready to do a counter super. On wake up, whether it's another jump in or in between strings, just find a knack before throwing out that counter super. Now if you're fighting against Angel, what would you do against her? Honestly, just rush her down. Don't let her do anything, don't let her get started. Her buttons are not the best defensively, and she has very limited reversal options. Even if she does get a counter super, it's not going to be the end because she can't advance cancel a climax afterwards. And you can just roll out most of her mix-ups. Now, you're gonna beat a lot of intermediate Angel players just by being able to roll out of her mix-ups, but a higher level Angel player will be able to look out for that, and if they catch on to that, they can punish you, so don't roll out too often. Alright, that's about it for my Angel tutorial. I hope it was very useful and knowledgeable. I want to see a lot more Angels out there, and I don't think a lot of people are giving her credit, or maybe they're just, you know, having a hard time learning her. But I think she's an amazing character in this game. She just has really high damage output. She just needs a person that could have all of her mix-ups, not just a set of mix-ups in their mind, like a set play kind of thing, but being able to switch between different strings mid-block. For example, one of the things I find difficult is figuring out what to do in a neutral game. For example, I'm going in for a combo, and that string doesn't work on block, it will work on hit, so I need to change on reaction my string into something like unchain step. So mid string with Angel, you need to be able to switch between confirm and into a mix-up. Mix-up obviously for people on block, and confirm in case you just got that full combo. So yeah, I think, you know, she's difficult to use but definitely worth it. Alright guys, that's it for my Angel tutorial. Leave any questions in the comments and I'll answer them as best as I can. And see you next time.